parents rejected me at 19 because my sister is better than me. I said okay and left. Now time has passed, and they asked me to help with her debt. I said yes, but only to say. When I was 19, my parents told me to leave. Not as a heated argument, not as an empty threat, but as an actual decision. They sat me down one evening, my mom, my dad, and my twin sister Sandy. Sandy didn't look upset. If anything, she looked pleased, as if she'd won some unspoken competition. My parents said, "John, it's time for you to move out." At first I thought they were joking. I had no reason to expect this. I wasn't a perfect kid, sure, but I didn't get in trouble. I had a part-time job, and I helped out around the house when I could. I didn't even ask them for much, considering they always put Sandy first. But as the conversation went on, the absurdity piled up. They said I took up too much space in the house. Sandy wanted to use my room for studying, because it had better light. They said I wasn't contributing enough even though Sandy wasn't working at all. They even said I was somehow holding her back, though they never explained what that meant. Sandy sat there smug, not saying much except for one thing. "I think it's best if John leaves. It's just better for everyone." It wasn't that they were angry, but they were firm. They said it as if they had rehearsed it. When I asked where they expected me to go, my father snapped, "You're an adult. Figure it out." That was it. No help, no offer to make it easier. Just a demand that I pack my things and leave. They even threw in a few insults for good measure, stuff about how I'd never amount to much, how I was a burden, and how Sandy was going places, unlike me. I didn't argue. I didn't shout back. I just said, "Okay." I went upstairs, grabbed my papers, my savings, and packed what I could into my car. I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I didn't even slam the door as I left. I just got in my car and drove south. I didn't know where I was going, but I figured anywhere was better than there. So I ended up renting a tiny room in a town 2 hours away. It wasn't much, a bed, a desk, and a shared bathroom down the hall, but it was mine. I got a job in a warehouse unloading trucks. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid enough to cover rent and put some money aside. I started saving for a better car because mine was on its last legs. I heard nothing from them for 7 months. No calls, no texts. I guess I wasn't surprised. They'd made their decision. But of course, the silence broke when they needed something. It was my mom who called first, acting as if nothing had happened. She asked how I was doing, as if she really cared. Then she got to the point. Sandy had some debt, and they couldn't keep up with it all because they were saving for college. Could I help? "Who else but you, John?" she said, as if I owed them something. I said, "Sure. I'll come over this weekend." I gassed up my car Saturday morning and headed back. It felt strange to drive to the house I used to call home, knowing I didn't belong there anymore. But I wasn't nervous or angry. If anything, I was curious to see how they'd act after everything. When I arrived, the welcome was surprisingly warm. My mom hugged me like I hadn't been kicked out 7 months ago. My father even patted me on the back. It was weird, like they were putting on a show. Sandy was there too, of course, sitting on the couch in the living room, scrolling through her phone. She didn't look up until my mom said, "Look, John's here." "Oh, hey," Sandy said casually, as if I'd just gotten back from the store instead of disappearing from their lives for half a year. They asked how I was, and I gave them short, polite answers. Nothing too detailed. Truth is, I didn't want them to know too much. I didn't trust them not to use it against me somehow. The conversation didn't stay on me for long, though. They quickly moved on to Sandy, how she just celebrated her 20th birthday, how she was doing great in her classes, and how they were planning a big celebration for her upcoming graduation. They went on about her dreams and ambitions as if she were the second coming of Einstein. I just nodded and pretended to be interested, even though I didn't care. Finally, they got to the real reason they'd asked me to come. "John," my mother said, "we've been trying so hard to make things work, but it's been hard. You know, Sandy's education is so important, and we want her to have every opportunity. But with everything that's going on, we've fallen behind a little bit. A little? My father cut in. It's bad, John. We need help. Sandy needs help. Then came the kicker. My mom leaned forward and said, If you've come all this way, you're going to help pay the debt, right? Right. I let the silence stretch for a second, then said, No. They blinked as if they didn't understand the word. What do you mean, no? My father asked, his voice rising. I mean, I won't give you any money. Not a penny. They tried to argue, saying that Sandy deserved it, that I was being selfish, that they'd always done their best for me, an outright lie, by the way. But I stayed calm and let them finish. When they finally stopped, I said, Look, I didn't come here to help with money. I came here to give Sandy something. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a small book. The title was How Not to Be a Fool. I gave it to her and said, I hope this helps, Sandy. Really? Her face didn't change. She just took the book and stared at it. But my parents? They lost it. My mom started screaming about how disrespectful I was. My dad called me ungrateful. They said I was ruining Sandy's future out of spite. I stayed quiet until they ran out of steam, and then I said, Don't be mad at me for this. Be mad at yourselves. You're the ones who threw me out, remember? You're the ones who chose Sandy over me. I'm just giving you what you asked for. I stood up and added, Oh, and you might want to read the book. You might all learn something. Then I walked out. I didn't look back as I left their house. It felt good, really good, to finally say what I'd been holding in for months. I got in my car, started it, and drove away. I didn't even care where I went. I just wanted to be as far away from them as possible. But about 20 minutes into the drive, my cell phone started buzzing. I ignored it at first. Then it buzzed again. And again. I pulled over to check, thinking it might be work or something important. But no, it was a barrage of texts from my parents. Get back here right now! How dare you embarrass us like this? Sandy's crying. You've ruined everything. I rolled my eyes and turned off my phone. If they thought guilt trips would work after everything, they were dumber than I thought. I put the phone down and started driving again. About an hour later, as I pulled into a gas station, I noticed a car that looked familiar. It was a beat-up old sedan parked awkwardly at the edge of the lot. I didn't think much of it until I saw who was inside. Sandy. She was in the driver's seat, gripping the steering wheel like it was the only thing keeping her from falling apart. Her face was pale and her eyes were red as if she'd been crying for hours. For a second, I thought about just driving away. I didn't owe her anything. But curiosity got the better of me. I parked my car, got out, and walked over to her window. What are you doing here? I asked. She jumped, startled, and quickly wiped her face. I needed to talk to you. I crossed my arms. About what? How I'm a terrible brother. How I should be throwing money at your problems. No, she said quietly. I wanted to say I'm sorry. That threw me. I hadn't expected an apology, not from her, not ever. Sorry? I repeated. She nodded and looked down at her lap. I know what Mom and Dad did to you was wrong. And I know I was a part of it. I pushed them to choose me because I was afraid. I thought if I didn't have their full support, I would fail. But now I see how unfair that was. I didn't say anything. I just stared at her, trying to figure out if this was some kind of trick. I don't expect you to forgive me, she went on. But you should know that I'm not proud of what I did. And I need your help. There it was. The catch. I laughed bitterly. Of course you do. What is it this time? More money? No, she said quickly. It's not about money. I'm leaving. Leaving? Mom and Dad are suffocating me. They control everything I do, my classes, my future, even the people I talk to. I can't take it anymore. I have to get away, but I don't know how. I stared at her, stunned. This wasn't what I expected. Sandy, the golden child, the favorite, wanted to leave? I don't know what to say to that, I admitted. Just tell me how you did it, she said, her voice breaking. How you left and started over. I don't even know where to start. I leaned against her car and let out a long sigh. I never thought I'd see the day when Sandy needed my advice. Part of me wanted to tell her to figure it out for herself, like they told me. But another part of me, the part that remembered what it felt like to be abandoned, couldn't. Okay, I said. Here's what you have to do. I took a deep breath and tried to process what was happening. Sandy was asking for my help? The same sister who had practically cheered when I got kicked out. It felt surreal, but I didn't want to rush into anything. First, I said, you need to figure out where you're going. Do you have friends who can help you? A place to crash? She shook her head. No one close enough. And even if I did, Mom and Dad would find out and drag me back. They always find a way. That was a problem. My parents were relentless when they wanted something. Okay, I said. Then you have to leave without telling them. No warnings, no goodbyes. Just pack up and go. Her eyes widened. They'll kill me if I do that. Maybe. But if you want out, it's your best chance. Trust me, I've been there. She looked down at her hands and bit her lip. I could tell she was scared. Do you have any money? I asked. Not much. A couple hundred. It wasn't much, but it was something. All right. Here's what we'll do. I'll give you the address of a cheap motel near where I live. It's not fancy, but it's safe. You can stay there until you figure out your next move. Her head shot up. You'd do that for me? I'm not doing this for you, I said bluntly. I'm doing it because no one deserves to feel trapped. Not even you. She winced, but didn't argue. I scribbled the address on a piece of paper and handed it to her. Pack light, just the essentials. Leave your phone behind. They'll use it to track you. And don't tell anyone where you're going, not even me. If they ask, I won't lie for you, but I won't help them either. She nodded, clutching the paper like a lifeline. Thank you, she said quietly. Don't thank me yet. You still have to go through with it. She nodded again, then started her car and drove away. I figured that was the end of it. If she left, great. If she bailed, that was her problem. Either way, I wasn't going to get involved. But 2 nights later, as I was getting ready for bed, there was a knock at my door. When I opened it, I was shocked to see Sandy standing there, drenched from the rain and holding a duffel bag. I did it, she said. I stepped aside and let her in. What happened? They went crazy, she said, shaking. Mom was screaming, Dad was threatening to call the cops, but I didn't care. I just ran out. I grabbed a towel and handed it to her. So what now? You can't stay here forever. I know, she said, her voice shaking. But I didn't know where else to go. Please, John. Just for a little while. I sighed. I knew it was risky to let her stay. If my parents found out, they'd be at my door in no time. But looking at her, soaked and scared, I couldn't say no. All right, I said. You can stay. But just for a few nights. After that, you're on your own. She nodded quickly. Thank you. I mean it. The first night Sandy stayed, things were quiet. She didn't say much, just sat on the edge of the bed in my tiny room, staring at her hands. I wasn't sure if she was in shock or just processing everything, but I didn't push her to talk. The next day I went to work early and left her there with some basic ground rules. Don't answer the door, don't call anyone, and don't touch my stuff. I didn't expect her to follow all of them, but when I got back, everything seemed fine. Or so I thought. It was late that night when the real trouble started. My phone buzzed, and when I looked it was a number I didn't recognize. I almost ignored it, but something made me answer it. Hello? John, it's Dad. My stomach dropped. How the hell did you get this number? I asked. That doesn't matter, he snapped. What matters is that you're harboring your sister. Bring her home now or I swear you'll regret it. I didn't answer right away. I was too busy wondering how he found out. I hadn't told anyone, and I doubted Sandy had either. She's not here, I lied. And even if she was, you kicked me out, remember? You don't get to tell me what to do anymore. Don't play games with me, John, he said, his voice dangerously low. We know she's with you. If you don't send her back, I'm going to call the cops and report her as a runaway. Don't think I won't. The line went dead before I could answer. I stood there for a minute, trying to decide what to do. Finally, I walked back into the room where Sandy was sitting. Did you tell them you were coming? I asked bluntly. Her eyes widened. No, I swear I didn't. I left my phone at the house like you said. Then how do you know? She hesitated, then said, Maybe they found the paper you wrote the address on. My heart sank. I hadn't thought of that. If they found it, they'd know exactly where I lived. Pack your stuff, I said. What? Why? Because we're leaving. Now. Within 20 minutes, we were on our way. I had no plan, just a full tank of gas and a determination to stay ahead of my parents. Sandy sat quietly in the passenger seat, clutching her duffel bag as if it were the only thing keeping her grounded. We drove for hours, heading south. I wasn't even sure where we were when Sandy finally spoke. Why are you doing this? She asked. Because I've been where you are, I said. And I know what it's like to feel trapped. But don't get this twisted, this doesn't mean I've forgiven you for what you've done. She nodded and looked down at her lap. I understand. And I don't expect you to forgive me. But thank you. We stopped at a motel in the middle of nowhere. It wasn't much, just a single room with peeling wallpaper and a bed that creaked if you even looked at it. But it would do for one night. As I locked the door, my phone buzzed again. This time it was a text message. It wasn't from my parents. It was from an unknown number. You think you're safe? We're closer than you think. I stared at the screen, my heart pounding. Someone was following us. The message on my phone kept me up all night. Someone knew where we were, or at least wanted me to think they did. I didn't tell Sandy though. She was already a mess, and I didn't want to add to it. The next morning, she woke up early and paced the room while I tried to figure out our next move. It didn't take long for her to make up her mind. I can't keep dragging you into this, she said. What are you talking about? This is my mess. I appreciate everything you've done, but it's not fair to you. You're trying to build your own life and I'm just getting in the way. You're not. I am, she interrupted. And I've already made up my mind. I'm going to stay with a friend for a while. Someone Mom and Dad don't know about. They'll never find me there. I didn't argue. I didn't see the point. Deep down I knew she was right. All right, I said. If you think it's best, then do it. But be careful. They'll be looking for you. She nodded, grabbed her bag, and left. For a few days it was quiet. I didn't hear from Sandy or my parents, and I started to hope that maybe, just maybe, things would finally calm down. But of course that didn't last. One night, as I was unloading boxes at the warehouse, my phone buzzed again. This time it was a call from an unfamiliar number. Against my better judgment, I answered it. John! My mother's frantic voice came through. Where is she? Where is who? I asked, playing dumb. Don't do this. We know she ran away again and we know she's with you. Just bring her home before it gets worse. She's not with me, I said firmly. Don't lie to us, my father yelled in the background. We've already called the police. I froze. You what? They're coming to your house right now, my mom said. If you're hiding them, they'll find out. I laughed bitterly. Good luck with that. She's not here. Maybe instead of wasting your time harassing me, you should think about why she doesn't want to be around you. I hung up before she could answer. Later that night I got a text from Sandy. I'm fine. Staying with a friend. Just wanted to let you know. Thanks for everything. Relief washed over me. At least she was safe. I didn't hear from my parents for a while after that. Apparently, Sandy had gone home almost as soon as her boyfriend's parents found out she was staying there. By the time the cops showed up at my house, she was already under their roof. From what I've heard, it's still a mess over there. They're trying to control her even more now, probably afraid she'll run away again. Honestly, it's not my problem anymore. It's been almost a year since they kicked me out, and I'm thankful every day that they did. Sure, it was hard at first, but now I'm living my life on my own terms. I have a steady job, a decent place to live, and a newer car that doesn't break down every other week. I don't talk to them anymore, and I'm okay with that. They made their choice when they decided I wasn't worth the space in their house. As for Sandy, I hope she understands. But whether she does or not, that's her journey, not mine. And honestly, I wouldn't change a thing. They kicked me out thinking they were punishing me, but they ended up doing me the biggest favor of my life.